Today we're going to compare the OnePlus 7 Pro versus the Pixel 4 XL. I know that these are pretty old by now. The OnePlus 8 is out and the Pixel 5 should be out soon, but just in case, if you are on the lookout for these phones or maybe they're on sale, hopefully this video can help you out. So this is the low light front facing test, and I'm standing specifically where there's a lot of street lights above me. Everywhere else is pretty dark. So let's move on to the next section. For portrait mode, the first thing I notice is on the OnePlus, it's very saturated. The red on my shirt is popping out way too much, and it actually looks really close to how it's supposed to be like on the Pixel 4. For the rest of the portrait mode experience, I do prefer the Pixel 4 better just because I simply point, shoot, and it works right away. A pro on the OnePlus is that you can actually use the telephoto lens to take a portrait mode picture. On the Pixel 4, you can zoom in to do it. So I do find it more comfortable using the wide angle on the OnePlus to take a picture of whatever is in my hand. On the Pixel 4, I think it's okay if you have something small in your hands, but if it's something big like a huge plate of food, then most likely you would need to reach out more. One con I do find on the OnePlus in portrait mode is that it takes a while to recognize the object. Now there are times where it would recognize it really quick, but when it takes forever, it's to a point where you just don't even want to take the picture at all. And you're thinking that the object is pretty simple, it's a simple shape, so it should recognize fairly quickly, but sometimes it just doesn't. And there are times where it would just recognize on a telephoto lens, but if you switch it to the wide lens, it just doesn't recognize it, or it takes too long. So it's a lot of guesswork. For everyday situations, it's obvious that the OnePlus will be the better one because it does have an ultra wide angle lens. But looking at these pictures, the OnePlus ultra wide and telephoto lens doesn't seem to be too good. When I'm zoomed in all maxed out, I think the Pixel 4 image looks better. As well as the HDR, I can see a bit more info in darker spots than the OnePlus. When I'm switching lenses on the OnePlus, I do notice that there are some color shifts and some exposure changes as well. So as I'm zooming in on the OnePlus, I notice that the pictures get darker, whereas on the Pixel 4, the whole exposure is really consistent. Now moving on to low light, the first thing I would recommend to do is stay away from the ultra wide angle lens and telephoto lens on the OnePlus. We already know that when I'm zooming in, the telephoto pictures on the OnePlus gets pretty dark, so it's not gonna look good. And that also goes the same with the ultra wide angle lens. So the best bet is just to stay with the main camera lens on the OnePlus. For the performance, I would say the Pixel is a bit smoother. Right when I take a picture on the OnePlus, I noticed that I would have to wait a little bit for it to process and render, and then I can switch to another lens or take another picture. Both phones do have their own night mode, and on the Pixel you can actually see a huge difference. On the OnePlus, it's barely noticeable, and realizing that I would have to hold the camera for like 5 seconds to get barely any changes, I don't think it's really worth it. And I think it's also more strict on being still because some of these pictures aren't the clearest, whereas on the Pixel's night mode, the picture seems to be fine. Now moving on to video, the stabilization is just a little bit better on the Pixel 4. I can slightly see the handheld movement on the OnePlus. For HDR, I would say the Pixel does have it better just because I can see more in the shadows, especially if you look at those leaves or trees in the background. And for the colors, I feel like the OnePlus does have a little bit more greenish blue shade over the whole image than the Pixel 4. A pro for the OnePlus is it has 4K 60 if you want to shoot in it, but it doesn't have stabilization, so it's best when you're just standing still. I switched over to 1080p 60 on both cameras, and it seems like there is a little bit more better stabilization on the OnePlus, but it's still not as good as the Pixel 4. The OnePlus does have an ultra steady mode, which is a great thing if you're doing more action stuff or you just want a gimbal-like movement. Now moving on to low light video, the OnePlus seems to have a lot more micro jitters than the Pixel 4, but I would say that the OnePlus seems like it can handle highlights better. Since 4K 60 doesn't have stabilization, it is sharper and it does knock off the micro jitters. The only trade-off I can see is having a darker image. So that is my comparison with these two phones. I think on the OnePlus, the best results you can get out of it is from the main camera lens. Anything out of that doesn't give you the best results. So let me know what you guys think. If you are interested in getting any of these items, I do have the links down below. Please follow me on Instagram, give a like, subscribe, hit the bell, and thanks for watching.